You live in an era overflowing with comfort, technology, and freedom. Yet in the past 70 years, depression diagnoses have surged by over 1,000%. Suicide rates have climbed, and millions more swallow antidepressants every day. The loneliest generation in history is also the safest and richest. What if the real mystery is not why our ancestors struggled, but why, against all logic, they reported more happiness than we do now? This is the question that turns everything you thought you knew upside down. In the world's richest countries, the numbers tell a story that cannot be ignored. In the United States, people born after World War II are up to 8 times more likely to experience major depression at some point in their lives than their great-grandparents. The World Health Organization now ranks depression among the top causes of disability worldwide, affecting about 5% of adults at any given moment. Antidepressant prescriptions have more than tripled since the 1990s in high-income countries, soaring from around 10 million to 40 million in the United States alone over just 20 years. Yet the symptoms aren't fading. Suicide rates in the United States rose by 35% from 1999 to 2018, with the sharpest increase among young people, even as safety and comfort reached historic highs. The World Health Organization now classifies loneliness as a public health epidemic, with chronic isolation raising the risk of early death to levels comparable with smoking 15 cigarettes a day. For teenagers and young adults, the picture is even bleaker. Surveys from Gallup and the World Happiness Report show life satisfaction among those under 30 at the lowest levels ever recorded in these data sets, with scores dropping sharply since 2010. The generation with the most advantages in history is also the generation reporting the least happiness. The question isn't whether there's a crisis. The numbers make that clear. The real mystery is why. Human brains are built for a world most of us will never experience. Our ancestors survived because their minds were tuned for tribe, struggle, and scarcity. 4 chemicals shaped every decision and emotion. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, surges when people gather, touch, or trust each other. It is the reason a shared meal or a familiar face feels safe. Our biology rewards connection with a sense of belonging. Serotonin rises when a person feels respected or needed by their group, reinforcing social status and purpose. Without it, people drift toward anxiety and despair. Endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, flood the system during shared hardship, whether that is a hunt, a communal fast, or a group ritual. They turn sacrifice into satisfaction, binding people together through struggle. And dopamine, the pursuit molecule, is released in bursts when we chase what is rare or uncertain, like food after famine, or the warmth of a fire after a cold night. This system evolved for a world of limits, not endless novelty. In the modern era, these ancient circuits are out of place. The rewards they once provided, belonging, meaning, and earned pleasure, are now rare or replaced by artificial substitutes. Meaning itself has been hollowed out. The mental health crisis is not a mystery of weak will or bad choices. It is a biological mismatch. Our brains, sculpted for community and purpose, are stranded in an environment that offers neither. The result is a society flooded with stimulation, but starving for the kinds of fulfillment that once made life worth living. Before sunrise, the old farmhouse glows with lamplight. Grandfather sits at the kitchen table, hands folded, eyes closed in prayer. For him, every morning begins with a ritual, words of thanks spoken to a God he cannot see, but whose presence orders all things. The day ahead is not just a list of chores, but a liturgy. Milking cows, mending fences, kneeling in the dirt. Each task is an act of worship, woven into a story larger than his own. In the pages of 18th century Puritan diaries, men and women wrote about their labor as service to a higher purpose. Suffering was not senseless, it was redemptive, a burden carried for reasons that stretched beyond a single lifetime. Death itself was not an ending, but a doorway. The fear that haunts so many today, the terror of meaninglessness, never found a foothold in lives shaped by faith. Purpose was not something to invent or chase. It was assigned, received, and lived out in the rhythm of ordinary days, giving every moment the weight that comfort alone could never provide. In the old village, no one faced the world alone. The household was a fortress of kin, grandparents, parents, children, sometimes cousins and hired hands, all under one roof. Census records from 1900 show that 1/4 of American homes were multi-generational, a number that has dropped to just 15% today. Survival depended on the web of relationships woven through daily life. Each person's role was clear and vital. The eldest passed down skills and stories. Mothers and fathers divided labor by season and need. Even the youngest had chores that mattered. Reputation wasn't a social accessory, it was a lifeline. A single act of betrayal or laziness could follow someone for years, making trust and honor essential currencies. In this world, loneliness was almost unthinkable. The sick found a bed and a bowl of broth waiting. The dying were surrounded by familiar faces. No one could vanish without notice or drift for years without a word. Community was not a choice or a lifestyle. It was the air everyone breathed, the structure that gave each vibe its place and dignity. A stonemason's chisel rings out against limestone in 14th century Cologne. He is carving a single arch for a cathedral he knows he will never see finished. The guild records list his family, Liane, father and son, working the same site across generations. Cologne Cathedral's construction began in 1248 and would not end until 1880, more than 6 centuries later. Each mason took an oath, not for personal glory, but to serve a purpose that outlasted any one life. Diaries from master builders describe the satisfaction found in shaping stones for a future they would never inhabit, trusting their children and grandchildren to carry on the work. Across the sea, estate ledgers from colonial Virginia show orchards planted by landowners like George Washington, who grafted apple trees in the 1770s. These trees would bear fruit for decades, feeding descendants he could only imagine. On English estates, lords planted oak saplings for timber they knew their great-great-grandchildren might harvest, some destined for ships that would sail centuries later. In these acts, the horizon stretched far beyond a single lifetime. The reward was not immediate, but embedded in the faith that one's work mattered long after death. This generational vision built resilience, a sense of belonging to a story that would continue, no matter the hardship of the present. A young professional wakes to a glowing phone, her thumb already scrolling through an endless feed engineered to keep her hooked. Instagram's infinite scroll, adopted in 2012, was not designed for connection. It was built to maximize attention, exploiting the same dopamine circuits once triggered by hunting and gathering. Every notification, every like, is a microdose of reward, but none of it satisfies. Advertisers and algorithms compete for her focus, promising happiness in the next product, the next experience, the next version of herself. The mantra is everywhere. Be true to yourself, curate your brand, chase your passion. But the more she looks inward, the more isolated and anxious she becomes. The old anchors, faith, family, community, are gone, replaced by a marketplace of identities and endless self-comparison. Comfort is everywhere, but meaning is nowhere to be found. Inside the church walls, ancient rituals still do the work our brains crave. When a congregation sings together, dozens of studies show their minds begin to synchronize. EEG scans reveal brainwaves aligning in real time, creating a sense of unity that no app can replicate. Communal worship triggers oxytocin, the chemical that bonds families, while shared prayer and confession lower stress hormones. In forgiveness rituals, participants see cortisol drop by as much as 25%, breaking cycles of shame and isolation. These practices are not relics. They are living blueprints for belonging, service, and self-denial, mapped directly onto the biology of resilience. 3 streams of evidence: historical diaries, epidemiological data, and laboratory studies converge on the same conclusion. Parish records and personal letters reveal daily gratitude and communal bonds. Epidemiologists track rising loneliness and depression with modern surveys. Neuroscientists demonstrate that rituals and social connection activate resilience in the brain. The pattern holds, no matter the method. Today, antidepressant use and loneliness reach historic highs, even as comfort grows. We engineered abundance, but dismantled the frameworks that made life worth living. Until we rebuild meaning and community and purpose, no innovation will fill that void. Some hungers cannot be satisfied by progress alone. What do you think?